In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a PV test execution where I bracket the wavelength of use. So this is using that second PV method configuration where I take a single photometric standard and the spectrophotometer will measure it at two different test wavelengths. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm logged in as just a regular user, tech user. So I can only see the main screen and the PV module. I click on Run a Test, and I'm going to choose from the drop-down. This time I'm going to choose the bracket test. So it tells me the test name, mock bracket test, which is what my app admin had configured as the name for this test. And it tells me what standard ID to use from my kit. And it tells me the kit serial number and any description that goes along with that. And so all I do also shows, I forgot to mention the spectrophotometer detail. So normally I'm using my mock reader, which is just a test reader, but this would normally say, evolution, it'll give the serial number and a description like a device ID. Let's go ahead and test. So I just follow the on-screen prompt. So this works a lot like the basic workflow. So remove all samples, prepare for zero. So I open the lid of my evolution, make sure there's no standards or samples in there, and I close the lid and click OK. And now the prompt says to insert the standard ID exactly as it's labeled. I put that in place in the sample compartment. I close the lid and click OK. And the first test begins. So it measured at that first photometric wavelength. And now it's telling me to remove that standard from the compartment. So I do that and I close the lid. It says to ensure all samples are removed and to prepare for zero. So it's going to re-zero the spectrophotometer before it moves it to that second wavelength test. So click OK. So I put the same standard as labeled right here into the sample compartment and click OK. And it's going to run that second photometric test. It tells me to remove it. So I do so, close the lid again and click OK. And we're just going to let the remainder of the wavelength accuracy test complete. So as you can see on the results screen, I had one photometric accuracy test at 465. So again, the software just prompts the user when to insert a standard, and it controls the spectrophotometer and it moves that wavelength to 465 and runs the test. Because this is a fake test, I have the exact same results, so just ignore this. But normally this would be whatever is configured, the parameter would be whatever is configured in your PV method setup. So here's my result, and here's the status of pass, and then it prompts me to remove, and we're going to re-zero before the 590 test. And it tests you. It tells me to insert the standard. I do so, and here's the result, and it passes. And then after both of the accuracy, the photometric accuracy tests are complete, it runs the wavelength accuracy. So I can add a comment if I want to, and that saves that with the report. And then I can click print, and it will show here. It'll show all the different tests that I ran, the results, and the status. It'll give me my spectrophotometer detail, serial number, all that good stuff, any comments, and I can print this as needed. It also saves a copy to the PV reports storage location. And if you go back to the main screen, you will see this is the test record, and it'll list the record and the name of the test, the reader that it tested, the result, and the date and time, and who completed that test. So that's it. And like I said, it's pretty much the same workflow as the basic test method. It's just simply testing at two separate wavelengths.